It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Telling you. Stephen Colbert got destroyed yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, just eviscerated. Now, he admitted he lied. As reading the John Nolte column from Breitbart, where, he said the FCC banned it, and then the FCC basically is the one that censored Tallarico coming on and banned him from coming on.
Yeah.
It was like,
yeah.
And CBS put out their statement, and then he comes out and says, well, what they told me is I had to abide by the equal time rule. And it was like, okay, that shows you just lied.
Yeah, right.
But the thing is, he didn't think they live in such a bubble.
No, they do.
They don't think that they're going to get caught.
Because people live in a bubble, and what they count on is people being stupid. Look, man, if you're gonna lie, I always say this: if you want your kids to lie for you, you have to lie to your kids. In other words, you got to follow it all the way through, right? You got to live the lie. But they don't care. They just live in the moment. The bubble of right now, not even the bubble of today, the bubble of this morning. Because later this afternoon, they're going to get called on it. It's like, oh, okay, then they move on.
Now, remember, this came out way back in, the FCC, the Communications Act of 1934.
Yeah.
Is where this actually came from. If you've been in the business, you've known about it. This is not a debate as to whether that law should still exist today.
Right.
When you don't have to do the same thing on the internet, podcast, whatever.
Right.
YouTube, you didn't have to do that. And the point can be made that the networks really don't have any type of power anymore. And for someone like Colbert, he really doesn't have any power if you're on the networks like you used to when there were only 3 networks.
Right.
That existed before cable, before the internet, and everything. That's not the discussion. The discussion is Colbert telling the truth, and is this a long-standing law? Which, of course, it is. Now, I'd forgotten about this. I did not know that when Fred Thompson ran for president in 2008, NBC stopped airing reruns of Law and Order that featured Thompson, who had been the district attorney on that show.
I didn't know that either. You and I were going over that in the pre-show meeting. And it relates to us directly because we had for, I don't know, it seemed like maybe a year, we were saying, who should run is Fred Thompson. And then Fred Thompson decided to get in, and we were like, yeah, we'll see.
Well, then also, this I didn't know. NBC affiliates in Tennessee showed the movie Necessary Roughness in 1994. Now, I call Necessary Roughness the worst football movie. Okay, wait a minute. There is Keanu Reeves, The Replacements.
Now, The Replacements is better. Gene Hackman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Gene Hackman is to that movie as to what Keanu Reeves is to every John Wick film.
Okay.
He was the John Wick of that movie. So, yeah.
But they showed the movie Necessary Roughness in 1994. Now, the good thing is, remember, Larry Miller is like one of the head honchos in the college, and the football players run over him, and that was like really, he played the bad guy in that one.
Yeah.
But the movie Necessary Roughness in 1994, those affiliates were required to give a Democratic Senate candidate 4 minutes and 13 seconds of free airtime. The Democrat was running against Fred Thompson.
Yeah.
I did not know. I saw that Eric Erickson posted that yesterday. And I went, I forgot about that. And so the law has been in existence for the longest time, and it was CBS Legal that said, look, on the eve, because this is what happened, it was on the eve of the polls opening in Texas.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it was not about Trump. It wasn't about the FCC. It was what the story eventually came down to is the fact that the establishment, the Democrat establishment, media establishment, with Colbert, wants a white man to win over a black woman.
Right.
And they won't give the black woman any time to promote what she believes.
Yeah.
This is, again, when, and we've always said it, when the Democratic Party says, identity politics, they only abide by identity politics if it fits their political ambition at that time.
Yes.
They'll dump identity politics and just in
Right.
a second and say, get the white man.
Right.
Now, we don't, remember, when we say these kind of things, these are not our beliefs.
Right.
None of these are our beliefs at all. We judge a person by, we judge a person by the substance of their argument. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I look at it, though, from an entertainment point of view. If I'm, somebody at CBS, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, you disagree with Jasmine Crockett? You've gone political. You disagree with her? Bring her on.
Yeah.
If you think
Right.
Tallarico's the best,
Right.
if Colbert's like, doggone it, I like this James Tallarico in the state of Texas because this guy believes that God wants abortions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such a great debate point to have in 2026.
Yes.
And
Just when you thought it couldn't get more radical than Jasmine Crockett, Texas delivers.
Oh, I went by the sign on the way home the other day. Jasmine Crockett, Texas tough.
Oh, no. Her ads, you should see her ads. It's like marching bands and high school football stuff. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? If like I got sentenced for doing something illegal, which number one, you can't prove it. But if they sentenced me to be her campaign manager or advisor, or they just said each day as a part of your sentence, this is kind of, you have to do this. This is the community service. And I would give them one set of advice. I would have said, hey, throw some images of high school football in there. Go for it.
Yeah, but it's
Texas.
But it's the far left that wants to get rid of football as a sport.
Well, they want to turn the lights off. Friday night lights? No, not unless they're solar powered. And then if that's the case, it can't go into overtime. You better get the game done. But it's and
football's going to go the way of hockey.
It's
how hockey has the shootout.
Yeah.
Okay, we've played a quarter of overtime. Let's end this game on a field goal. Who can make? We start at the 20-yard line and we go back. I'm waiting for that to happen in football.
Well, they'll do the halftime report like Bob Costas. Remember when they turned the lights off?
Oh my gosh!
And did the halftime report?
Oh my!
It was the stupidest thing ever.
Well, but then again, Bob Costas was behind it.
Yes,
and Bob
exactly.
Costas can be fine when he talks sports. As soon as he gets into politics, he's the biggest lightweight. Well, except for Colbert.
Well, my thought is don't even do a broadcast. Don't even do a report, a halftime report, Bob. Just shut up. You'll save a lot of energy, electricity, and your own. But the ad, of course, for Jasmine Crockett says nothing. She fights for, it ends up, she fights for us. Okay. Yeah, what does it mean? How? What does she stand for? And it's, this is, the left cannot get into their bat soup crazy moments. This is what we've been telling the GOP. The thing about the Colbert is, as you said, it's not Trump. It's not the FCC. It's not even the GOP. This was an issue within the Democratic Party, and Colbert chose his radical and wanted to have him on, and did not want to have on a woman of color. That's a cold, hard fact.
Yeah. They don't want to give, and you can have your choice of candidates, but he lied to his audience. Colbert lied to his audience.
Yeah.
I'm going to say he lied to the American people, like that matters. He lied to his audience and told them one thing.
Right.
Because he did not want a black woman to get equal time.
Right.
He wanted the white man to dominate.
He didn't want to give her any time.
No time.
Not even 1 minute to the Tallarico's, however long it was. Nothing.
Nope.
Zero exposure. Shame.
He got blasted. Even on CNN, he got blasted. Let me play this audio here. Here we go.
Right.
This is
right.
Brian Stelter, which is like, had to kill him to say this. You ready? Here we go.
All right.
You can put Tallarico's tweet on screen. He said the FCC banned our Colbert interview, and he's wrong about that. The FCC did not ban the interview, and that's what is actually so interesting about this.
What's interesting is the lie.
Here's FCC Chairman Brendan Carr yesterday.
All right.
Here we go.
You had a Democrat candidate who understood the way that the news media works. And he took advantage of all of your sort of prior conceptions to run a hoax, apparently for the purpose of raising money and getting clicks. And the news media played right into it. I think yesterday was a perfect encapsulation of why the American people have more trust in gas station sushi than they do in the national news media. And this was very plainly an effort ginned up to get clicks and to raise money. And you guys ate it up like slop. And when it was pointed out that the facts were completely different than what the fake news media was running with, nobody did like an about face and did a fact correction. They just pivoted and moved away. And again, I think this is why the American people simply don't trust the news media anymore.
Well, the news media had to do it.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't tell you the truth. They couldn't tell you the truth that Colbert doesn't want to hear or give equal time to a black woman. There's no way the media could spin that.
Yep. That right there is those are all facts. There's zero fat in what you just said.
Yeah. And in fact, he felt he had to lie. So his intent would not be known to his audience and to Democrats. He had to lie about what happened.
Well,
because this was fully his choice to say, we're only going to put out what the white man has to say, and we're going to ignore what the black woman has to say. The media couldn't touch this. Democrats couldn't touch this. They had to drop it.
And part of the design of the lie was to make himself look like the victim.
Yes.
And who's the real victim here? Our beloved Jasmine Crockett. I go a little heavy on that.
Well, due to the fact that I'm in her district.
That's why I call her our beloved.
Yes, you
You're one of her constituents. Now, if she wins in November.
So are you.
No. Remember I told you I was up in Oklahoma? I was looking at land. True story.
That'd be a long drive to work every night.
It's my version of moving to Canada.
Oh, my gosh.
Texas is thinking about making Oklahoma the 51st state, by the way. I don't even know what that means, but yeah.
So I'm just,
but honestly, he's trying to play the victim here. And when you look at the entire design, he was shutting her out. Where is the outrage on that from the left?
There's not. Democrats don't care about minorities. They don't care about trans. They don't care about anybody. They're just looking to get power no matter how they do it.
Right.
It's like when Ed O'Keefe yesterday asked Caroline Leavitt, well, where is this? Where is any example of Trump being falsely accused of being a racist? She goes, are you kidding? The whole place burst out laughing.
Yeah.
It's Ed O'Keefe.
Yeah.
And he's with CBS.
Right.
Basically, we all know that Trump has over and over and over and over again. All you have to say is Charlottesville.
Right.
You don't have to go too far.
Which was a lie.
Right. Yeah.
By omission in order to make him look racist.
Yes. And so what they're doing is they've got no argument. So they go back to, the president made this accusation. We have no idea. When did these things ever? It was, to me, Ed O'Keefe saying that was like when Warnock in Georgia said, we don't know anybody.
I don't even know any Democrats.
I don't know any Democrat that's against voter ID.
Yeah.
Everyone except one in the House.
Yep.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller. In order to manage speed, you need to understand the 4 factors involved in stopping a vehicle. Perception distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time you see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. The perception time for an alert driver is approximately 3/4 of a second. Reaction distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot hits the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second. Brake lag distance also needs to be taken into account. When operating a vehicle with air brakes, it takes about half a second for the mechanical operation to take place. Finally, braking distance is the distance it takes a vehicle to stop once the brakes are applied. Braking distance is affected by the weight, length, and speed of the vehicle, as well as road condition. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm just reading headlines from the Babylon Bee. Here's the headline.
All right.
Disgusting. Colbert announces he would rather the show not air at all than have to interview a black woman. By the way, Babylon Bee.
Quit doing real news.
Right. That's not a parody. You're a parody website.
Who's running the place now? Barry Weiss?
I mean, you're supposed to parody, not tell the truth. But they've talked about that.
Yeah.
How their headlines, a few years ago, it's like,
they're
oh my
so
God,
much closer.
We used to think we were parodying the left, and now they're actually doing what used to be a parody.
They're so much closer to the truth.
And then there's this one here. New Yorkers report warmth of collectivism feels strangely like a crushing tax hike.
Oh, my gosh.
And then this one, and it shows Tallarico and then Colbert, like in the interview. It's a picture. Progressive explains Democrats can be Christians, too, if they ignore everything in the Bible. And then finally, the Bible says you should not judge people. Woman tells Jesus at great throne of judgment.
Oh, my gosh, that's beautiful. Good.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
We're Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. You know, we had talked yesterday about the fact that Susie Wiles was meeting with 75 to 100 of the people in the president's administration about what they need to do for this upcoming election.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've said that whether it's economics or whether it's politics, these things aren't too hard to understand, because the two idiots overnight can figure these things out. And if you look at what the consultants were telling the Trump team yesterday, it almost mirrors 100% what we have told the Trump administration that they have to do.
Yeah.
Was reading from Mark Halperin, who wrote last night on Capitol Hill, the senior Trump political command briefed its core team on the midterms. Here's a detailed account, according to one of the attendees at the meeting at the Capitol Hill Club. The group was served a chicken and steak buffet.
Oh. I read where buffets are back in. You know, they stopped doing that during the COVID thing, but now they're back. So they did chicken and steak buffet.
Chicken and steak buffet, yes.
All right.
The program went on for 2 hours. This was a veteran group, not panicked or shaken, just focused on the work and the task at hand. 75 to 100 people to 100 people in the room. Many cabinet members were there, including Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, RFK, Sean Duffy, along with their most senior aides. The meeting was hosted by Susie Wiles, Chief of Staff, who spoke briefly.
Okay.
The pollster and strategist Tony Fabrizio presented about 25 slides on data on what the voters care about, the demographics, the issues, what message resonate, and what do not. The economy will be the issue in the election. Messages that break through, banning stock trading for Congress, transparency on health insurance data, including pricing and claims reimbursement, which, by the way, is it really, transparency is something we've talked about for years.
Yeah.
Lowering prescription drug costs, the Trump tax cuts.
Right.
Housing affordability, huge issue for voters, especially young people.
Right.
Taking credit for closing the border does not resonate anymore.
Nope, it's going to be short-lived. First of all, it was one of those things that should have been a given, right? Closing the border is like, closing the door. Well, did you close the door? Well, of course I closed the door. You don't get a parade for closing the border. Now, they did it in record time. They did a great job.
Yeah.
The Border Patrol was given authority again to, patrol the border. But it was only by contrast that it was this massive achievement. President Trump said it himself. Turns out we didn't need new laws. We just needed a new president. The point being is that politically, I'm not saying they didn't do a great job. They did a great job, but it doesn't last that long. It's when you have that accomplishment on something like that, it's like, okay, this is the way it should be. Now what? Now what are we facing domestically as individuals? Everything goes back to pricing. Everything goes back to pricing on critical levels, grocery stores, energy, pricing on, everything that you mentioned there, not just housing, cars, now it's being more accepted. I just saw the article yesterday. $1,000 a month payments. We've talked about that before, but that's coming up again. the average cost of a new car, $50,000 and a $1,000 a month payment. My gosh, are you kidding me?
We talked about with the inflation report yesterday the things that people have to have still are way above the inflation. And this is where you had political consultant James Blair spoke and said, trying to argue about wages being up will not help. Voters have to feel it when it comes to prices. Now, this is what was said in the meeting held by Susie Wiles, Trump's chief of staff. This is everything that you look at all those points. Those are points that we have made. We've been criticized for those points when we've said this is what the president needs to do. And it's exactly, I mean, almost to a T, almost 100% of what we said is going on. And if you wish to win, that's what you need to do.
Yep.
Now, the incredible thing is he acknowledged that Donald Trump will do what he wants to do, say what he wants to say, and none of it will be data-driven. Everyone else, though, has to stay on message and be driven by the data. So what he is saying is you have to do what will win us the election. Donald Trump does not. And that is, Donald Trump did not, that he does not have to. He will not do what needs to win the election, but you have to. Now, the White House, this has been out since yesterday morning. Nobody has denied this. I haven't seen anybody in the White House say this didn't happen.
Right, right.
So if this is accurate, what happened in the meeting that Trump's chief of staff called is, this is what will win us the election. Trump isn't going to follow it, but you have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just shake your head. Now, this was interesting. Men moderates, I love this. Men moderates, true independents, and Hispanic voters are the true persuadable voters. True independents mean not the people that are on the far left and claim they're independent.
Right.
They're
like the ones who say they're libertarian, too.
Yeah, this was Fabrizio, the consultant who made the recommendations to spend this. Now, this is real. There's something else you and I have said. We've said it's for the longest time that the networks have lost their clout. They've lost their power. Yeah. And we said this a long time ago. We don't get it anymore, but we would sit there and say, nope, you're wrong. The Internet's way more important. And I can't tell you exactly what year it was that we started saying that, but we got pushed back on that for the longest time. Mm-hmm. Spend time on podcast and social media more than national news interview. Paid media should go on targeted media, not broadcast or even cable. Facebook is still number one for voters, then Instagram and TikTok. Wow. Wow. Now, my concern is when they tell everybody to stick on the economy. Well, in the same breath, Trump's consultants are saying it is about the economy. It's not working, saying that prices are down and wages are up because people don't feel it.
Right.
And it's exactly where we've gone to say, if something is self-evident, the worst thing that you can do in politics, the number one worst thing, is to tell people that what they experience every day is not happening. Biden did that and lost. And what they're saying is, you, as supporters of the president, can't do what the Democrats and Biden did that lost them the election. You can't do it. but we can't stop Trump from doing things that will negatively affect what will happen in November as they talk about the fact we need to get Trump out there and promoting what will not win the election for them. Am I wrong on that? Where am I wrong on the analysis? If this is correct, and nobody from the White House has denied that this would happen at the meeting, if this is what's going on, is that not what they're saying?
Pretty much that's what they're saying. And here's the problem. They spent a lot of taxpayer money on steak and chicken. And we're in mid-February. We're past mid-February now. And they're trying to get their message together. This was, by all accounts, again, unless they come out and deny it, an all-hands-on-deck moment.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we had that when we bombed Iran. This is, everybody, do what you're supposed to do. What it reminds me of is the first term, when Sarah Huckabee Sanders pretty much had to go on hiatus because she couldn't keep up with the messages that were changing daily from the president. And that's true. They quit doing the press events, the daily press events, which was fine. But it started basically long ago. I mean, it started in 2015 in his first war room there in Trump Tower. Let Trump be Trump. That's been the guidance all along. Don't worry about what he's doing. Be on point. Well, you can't be on point unless you're doing what Mike Pence used to do. Just be quiet and shake your head, affirming anything that he says. Because what are you going to say? What is the promise? You know, yesterday they were talking about Iran during the press event. And she says, well, I'm not going to set a deadline for the president when it comes to Iran. Of course she's not. You can't do that. But you also can't come in and say, you know, like, well, don't worry, we're never going to, the tariff thing is already settled. It's, and it's going well and everything else. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're tripling the tariffs on India. I don't like Modi. He said something nice about somebody I don't like, or whatever it is. If the game isn't on point, the point is the only person in that room that should have been in that room is Donald Trump. Tell everybody else to go home.
And you follow his lead.
It's the only thing you can do.
Right.
And don't go out before him. And don't do the morning show if he hasn't done the morning show yet.
And what they're saying is we can't depend on our leader to give a winning message for November, so you have to do it.
Right. Whatever he says, you echo. Don't say anything beforehand.
No, they're not saying that.
You have to wait. You have to wait for whatever he says.
No, they're saying
I know what they're saying.
Yeah, they're saying
but
if he says something, you don't say it.
No, I know. But what they should be saying is, this is my whole point.
Yeah, okay, we agree that.
You should be echoing that. That was everything I was saying.
Right.
You don't do anything. You guys go home. And if he says something, you do the Mike Pence. Yep. Shake your head affirming what he said.
But at the meeting held by Susie Wiles, the president's going to say what he wants.
It's a lot of steak and chicken that went to waste.
Which is not a winning message for November.
Yeah.
You don't pay attention to what the president says. Pay attention to what we tell you what to do.
Yeah.
That does not instill confidence within Republicans, which is why when I saw this yesterday, I was waiting for the huge pushback coming from the White House. It wasn't there.
Right.
Maybe it'll come, but it hasn't come yet.
If you need to know what the talking points are, just turn the TV on and Trump will be saying it.
Right.
You just shake your head and affirming it. What he said. That's your answer to every question. What he said.
We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So what I got out of the meeting that everybody all the important people in the Trump administration were discussing yesterday over the chicken and steak buffet is I can't get out of my mind. I mean, it's the Pavlov dog thing. I'm thinking of a Japanese hibachi with chicken, steak, and shrimp.
Yeah, I'd like to have a buffet right now. Actually, I think I could probably hit one a couple of times.
I just wonder if the White House is going to push back on that at all, because that messaging is not good.
It isn't, and at the end of the day, the work has to be doing your messaging for you. The effects of what you're doing have to be working for people to feel that. What you're saying is only part of it.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. We are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley.
Hi. How are you?
All right, so Iran.
Yeah.
You know, after I saw J.D. Vance on a number of interviews this week, I when I heard that, I went, my first reaction was, we are going in.
Yeah.
When he said, yeah, we're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, of course you're not getting anywhere, because the terms of what the president has said that he would accept, they're not going to give him.
Right. Or
whatever those terms are that the president would accept. The question is here, because, you know, reading that the Armada, you know, there it is, reading New York Post. Trump could launch sustained attack on Iran within days after U.S. military's unprecedented Middle East buildup.
Yeah, right.
The challenge is in this one, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I believe. This isn't like going after the nuclear reactors. That's a specific target that you're hitting. It's one, or it's a number of specific targets, but all related to the same thing. You're going after infrastructure, and you're going after certain military people and scientists.
Right.
That's what you were doing, because you wanted to destroy their ability to keep that program
and because
going.
The location of all the above, the aforementioned targets, there was little risk of a civilian casualty fallout.
Right. And so unqualified success.
Oh, yeah.
And then the same thing in Venezuela. What was the goal? To extract one person.
Right.
That was the goal.
Right.
President talking this week about the injuries that some of the pilots had.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I heard that, you know, combined with what J.D. Vance was talking about, that, you know, this is basically the negotiations are going nowhere, which is not a surprise.
Right.
And there's been criticism, or there's been political analysts saying, well, we shouldn't be negotiating with Iran at all. But this is a president that wishes to put out, you know, we talk about imagery backed by substance on foreign relations, on foreign things like this. When you look at Iran, when you look at the support of Israel that this president has had, when you look at Venezuela, when you look at some of the other things that he has done, very, very targeted, you know, going after ISIS, hitting, what was it? I got mind blank here. But any of the things that he has done have been specific and targeted. and he doesn't want boots on the ground.
Right.
So when I saw the president talk about his concern about the pilots that were injured, some of the lower body injuries that they had, he was concerned. He doesn't want boots on the ground.
Well, and that's the thing, too, because if you look at going after Iran in this way, I mean, the fact that we just did a targeted bombing was incredible for all of us who have lived through the whole Iran thing, going back to the hostage crisis and all of that. You look at it, the killing of Soleimani, the targeting in his first term, the targeting of ISIS in eastern Afghanistan with the Moab. I don't believe this president wants to have that kind of presence, because you just look at the population of Tehran alone, right? The fallout there. You've got neighboring nations, Azerbaijan, Armenia, they're not, Armenia is on the other side, but those two were at war. Then Trump negotiates a peace deal between them. But there's still somewhat friendly relations between Iran and Azerbaijan. But what you would be worried about is, okay, what about fallout? If you're talking about basically going to war with Iran, then they're not going to go down quietly. This has to be, because if you look at the scale of the Maduro extraction alone, that's not a small thing. But look at what the goal was. It was to get Maduro and his wife. Because what was the conversation after that? Well, why didn't they go in and take out all the loyalists? You know what it took to get just those two?
Yeah, that wasn't the goal. And you had the arrest warrant, which made it perfectly legal.
Right.
And you notice the fallout on that. There's been no fallout. But I know what I want to relate to. The targeted attacks on Al-Shabaab and ISIS Somalia.
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah.
And even that with the whole Somali thing.
Right.
In Minneapolis and all that, still there's been no fallout from that at all.
No.
From what the president did. So you look at this and you say, okay, he could launch a sustained attack on Iran, focusing on what? And I do believe that there has been great contemplation in the Department of War as to what you do here. What is, because I haven't even seen this. We haven't seen what is the goal in doing this.
Right.
They're not cooperating. Well, the goal has to be, we're not going to, we keep saying, well, we're going to war with Iran. Technically, we're not. I don't believe we're going to war with Iran. We're not going to war with the people of Iran.
Right.
You want whatever your goal is here, you want the people of Iran to be on your side afterwards. So you're not going to take out critical infrastructure. You're not going to take out the grid, power plants, hydroelectric dams, if they have them. I don't even. But just
actually, the aforementioned Azerbaijan, they had an agreement between Iran and Azerbaijan. Was it last year or the year before? And after there was a ceremony for that on the border of Iran and Azerbaijan, and there was an Iranian official killed in a helicopter crash on the way back from that. So they do have, I guess, different sources of power. We know they had natural gas when Ahmadinejad set up his military in order to, because they don't process a lot of their own oil, if any, these days, but they relied on other nations that were friendly to them to get those processed fuels back to them, and that was too much of a big game, and they went to natural gas. That was years ago. So they have but the infrastructure is complicated. To your point, it's highly complicated. And you want to be in control of the messaging. So you got to make sure that Starlink is in place. I mean, I'm guessing they're going to lean heavily on Starlink if there is, if something does go down, so that, quite frankly, the U.S. propaganda, the messaging to the people of Iran can be very fluid and consistent. But the question is, how deep is the loyalty to the supreme leader? The exchanges back and forth, are just words. We've seen that for years, for decades and decades and decades, long before Trump. But when you talk about doing the deed, then what are you talking about? As with Maduro, okay, that was a different kind of mission, but still that mission, that level of mission took months and months of planning, and they had to get everything in place. If you do something like this, I don't know how deep, I honestly don't know how deep the loyalty is with the Iranian military to the supreme leader, because right now it does not seem like the supreme leader, we had heard the story in recent months that there were, in fact, a number of stories about him wanting to basically go into exile, was thinking about it, somewhere in Russia with his family and closest family members, like 18 to 20, a couple dozen people. And so I don't know what this looks like. Again, if there's going to be, you build up, this is a show of power up until now. I even think some of the exchanges in the media aren't necessarily a show of power. It's leveraging, going like, yeah, well, we're not confident. We're not getting anything out of them. We're not, because you're probably not. It's probably the truth, but you have to be ever present so that Iran gets the message, and I think they should have it by now, that this president doesn't play, that if he does make the decision, it's going to happen.
And then the question would be, what would happen? They're talking about sustained bombing, and the mention that, remember, to take out the Iranian reactors, that actual attack was 25 minutes.
Yeah.
That was it. I mean, the planning and the movement of the airplanes and everything else, and the planning of having probably Mossad inside there to take out the scientist, that might have been longer, but the actual United States bombing of it took 25 minutes. So what is the goal here is regime change.
Yes.
We know that's the goal.
Right.
How do you get that done?
Right.
How do you do that? And you mentioned the loyalty of the I don't believe the people will be any problem.
I don't think the citizens are an issue.
And so you wonder about the military. Will they crumble if you go after the military with sustained bombing? If you go after the military bases, if you go after whatever police organization is involved in executing people and taking out their leaders. But those are precise things, and I don't know even if the United States has the ability to be, and you look at it and you go, yeah, but we took out all those scientists and specifically took them out. Could we have You're going to have cooperation with Israel to do something here.
Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
And so if you do, can you target a ton of different military leaders? Can you because if you take off the head of the snake, is that the goal? And I would, to be a fly in the wall with the Joint Chiefs and Hegseth about what is the actual plan? What is the goal? What do we bomb day one? Is it going to be incremental? Do we make it a massive hit and keep going until they just say we give up? Or do you hit them to let you know they're serious? And when they don't respond, hit them again the second day, hit them again the third day, hit them again the fourth day. And precisely, what are you hitting?
Well, as a country that sponsors terrorism, it is a lot like the loyalty issue is a lot like the recruitment game with Al Qaeda, ISIS, and all of the terrorist organizations. You can break their will with the right execution of a mission. If they know there's no way they're going to, in Venezuela, a couple of people were still talking tough. But at the end of the day, even that changed literally by the end of the day. Oh, well, we'll be actually communicating and talking with the U.S. Well, with Iran,
and nobody's talking tough now at all.
Nobody
for the longest time.
It was that ended by the end of the day, literally. And so you look at Iran, and again, I'm just a layman, but it would stand to reason that, as you mentioned, okay, there could be some top targets that militarily, if you look at someone at the gauge of a Soleimani, right, who was on their own power trip mission statement, loyal to the literal end to the supreme leader, those are the ones you have to worry about. It's Operation Crabgrass. If you've ever pulled crabgrass up by the roots, you know how deep it is and you know how tough those roots are. You could make towing rope with those roots. And you've got to find those roots in that military organization. But everything else will fall away like those weeds that just kind of pull right easily out of the ground. It's thinking about yard work yesterday. But you have to go in and do that. That has to be a 1-2 punch. Because I do believe it's a lot like, well, with a lot of nations. There are a lot of the people that serve in the military that have families at home and say, look, I have to serve in the military here. I have to serve the supreme leader. This is what I have to do. We know what they're doing to people, and I cannot turn on the supreme leader. But if the supreme leader is taken out, a lot of that loyalty goes away. You just have to make sure that the strongest of that loyalty, the deepest of those roots, are pulled straight from the ground and eliminated. And I don't know how you do that. God bless the United States military for all of their accomplishments. And I hope and pray if they decide to make a move on Iran here, that they are successful in that mission with as little fallout as possible on both sides. I mean, because the people of Iran want this change. We've been seeing it. We know this.
Well, I mean, this is where, any of their ballistic missile program, you take out that, you take out anything more of the, we understand that part of it. You want to, if you can decimate their military while at the same time, well, if you decimate their military, will that help? And this is where you get into boots on the ground with the CIA and covert operations. Yeah. What do they know?
Right.
What does the CIA know? What does Mossad know?
I guarantee you, I would bet everything on this. They're not going to go in blind. That's for sure.
I don't believe they will either. No.
Yeah, so it's a good question. It's an open-ended question, but they'll know where those precise targets are, and if they go in, we'll know that they're sure on it. The president, they say, will decide soon on whether or not to go in. We don't know what that means.
We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Milk production for 2026, we raised this month 300 million pounds.
Based on forecasted increases in milk per cow, according to USDA World Agricultural Outlook Board Chair Mark Jekanowski.
Dairy cattle inventories are actually slightly declining, flat to declining. The growth that we're seeing in production is all focused on getting more milk out of each cow.
U.S. butter exports remain strong due to both high domestic supplies and price-competitive product.
Seeing some strength kind of across the board in terms of all of the product prices.
With an importance of rebounding prices for products like cheese and butter, aiding in boosting class prices from the previous month.
And the all-milk price, this month we raised it by 70 cents per hundredweight to $18.95 per hundredweight. And that, though, is still down $2.22 per hundredweight year over year.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, was climate change a big hoax? And
is that a loaded question?
I know. That's why I laughed. And I love this. It was an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal. Democrats, you may have already lost the 2028 election. Talking about the fact that only 2 people have double-digit approval numbers. And that would above 10%. Well, above 10% for the election would be Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
And on the front of that op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal, they have Stephen A. Smith. And saying, well, who may jump in that might get noticed?
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when you choose. All right, so I just happened to see this, and I went, this is really, really good. And, you know, the president has reversed what the EPA was doing for the longest time on carbon dioxide. Mm-hmm. Did Bill Maher ever comment? He's been quiet. I haven't heard his response about being mocked for communicating that confusing carbon dioxide with carbon monoxide. I haven't seen a response from him anywhere. Not on
I didn't
Twitter
see it.
or anything since he said it last. I mean, he was mocked.
Yeah,
he was mocked bad for that. You know, you don't think climate change is a problem? Well, then, carbon isn't a problem. Well, then, go in your garage and turn your car on.
Yeah,
it's like that's carbon monoxide.
Yeah,
not carbon dioxide.
Yeah,
and I haven't heard anything since then. But it shows you the ignorance that still exists out there. How long has this been? You know, well, I'll tell you how long it's been since I've been doing talk radio, at least.
Yeah.
Because the ozone layer, remember how people used to confuse the ozone layer with climate change, with global warming?
Yes. Oh, no. No spray, no hairspray, no aerosol spray. It was putting a hole in the ozone. And that was lumped in.
Right.
That was by design. People did confuse it, but it was by design. The left wanted you to believe, well, it's all the same thing. It's all, you can't do this. You can't, quit driving cars. And also your hair looks fine. Leave it alone.
Well, this is an op-ed piece, Stephen Moore, Real Clear Politics. Mm-hmm. Stephen Moore, former economic advisor to President Trump in his first term. And he quotes the environmental scholar Bjorn Lomborg, who we've talked a lot about on the show and played a lot of his audio. And Bjorn Lomborg has always been a unique case because he does believe that man puts out CO2, whatever, and other climate change gases that may be affecting, he believes, is affecting the world. He doesn't know what to what degree it is, but thinks that the Democrats and the liberals are way overselling it and believes that everything they are doing is wrong. Right. Everything that they've done is wrong.
Right.
And Stephen Moore writes, environmental scholar Bjorn Lomborg recently calculated that across the globe, governments have spent at least $16 trillion feeding the climate change industrial complex. And for what? Arguably, not a single life has been or will be saved by this shameful and colossal misallocation of human resources. The war on safe and abundant fossil fuels has cost countless lives in poor countries and made those countries poorer by blocking affordable energy. Since the global warming crusade started some 30 years ago, Yeah, it was longer than that. The temperature of the planet has not been altered by 1/10 of a degree, as even the alarmists will admit. In other words, $16 trillion has been spent. A lot of people got very, very rich off the government, but there is not a penny of measurable payoff. But it's much worse than that. In economics, there is a concept called opportunity cost. What could we have done with $16 trillion to make the world better off? What if the $16 trillion had been spent on clean water for poor countries, preventing avoidable deaths from disease like malaria, building schools in African villages to end illiteracy, bringing reliable and affordable electric power to more than 1 billion people who still lack access, curing cancer? Many millions of lives could have been saved. We could have lifted millions more out of poverty.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I said? The unit was not based on what he was talking about, which is infrastructure for poor countries. It was welfare programs, is what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where my brain went.
The benefits of speeding up the race for the cure for cancer could have added tens of millions of additional years of life at an economic value in the tens of trillions of dollars. Instead, we effectively poured $16 trillion down the drain. For this reason, it is important that we identify the green climate change derangement syndrome as perhaps the most inhumane political movement in history. The people at the Sierra Club, the Environmental Defense Fund, and the United Nations, and politicians like Al Gore, Joe Biden, and John Kerry, who voted for and carried out this Green New Deal scam, should all be placed on the wall of shame. The Biden administration alone wasted $400 billion on green energy and other sham climate change programs. The one sliver of good news is that it appears that the climate change neuroses have finally started to subside. We've reached peak global warming craziness. We never got to peak oil, did we? But we got to peak global warming craziness in the U.S. for sure, and even Europe seems to have turned its back on its economically masochistic and net zero.
Probably misogynist, too.
Okay, misogynist.
We'll look it up later. I'm sure they got to it at some point.
Well, I'm sure the left somehow combined climate change with the radical transgender movement.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm positive that happened.
We'll call it the misogynist net zero fossil fuels obsession.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is wisely and rapidly dismantling the climate change industrial complex of all of his pro-growth economic policies. There may be none with a higher long-term payoff than his recent order to repeal the mother of all costly regulations, the anti-fossil fuels endangerment rule, taxing carbon dioxide emissions. The cost of that regulation has been estimated to exceed $1 trillion over time. And we said this last week when he did this. We said there may be no other thing that he does that is bigger than getting the economy on track than that long term.
Right.
We cannot recapture the $16 trillion wasted on a false crisis. Sunk costs are, alas, sunk. But we can't stop the madness of actually believing that politicians who can't even pay off the balance on their credit cards can somehow change the world's temperatures. Or the world temperature, excuse me. So there you go. I said temperatures because it's different in every place, but he said temperature. So there you go. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was interesting. And it's all based on, a lot of, to me, what Bjorn Lomborg led. Because it was Bjorn Lomborg really who came across and goes, I guess you can make the case. I believe that there is some change that by putting, we know pollutants, we know particulate matter.
Sure. We can actually measure that.
You can actually measure the particulate matter, and we know that there's been a slight increase when you look at the carbon dioxide as a percentage of our atmosphere, a slight increase. We know there's been more of a greening because of that, which means if there's more of a greening, there's more oxygen also being put in because that's the waste product that trees and plants put out after they, after photosynthesis.
We can educate Bill Maher and make the point at the same time that, that carbon monoxide is different than carbon dioxide. We don't have carbon dioxide CO2 detectors in our homes. We have carbon monoxide detectors
Right.
for a reason.
Right.
And
we did it.
So we can, there can be that impact, but that's not where the left went. In fact, what they'll tell you is, oh, yeah, we do have CO2 sensors. They're out in the ocean where nobody can see them.
Well, as I did advise Bill Maher the other day, I don't know if I did this yesterday or the day before. I think it was the day before. We hope he understands the difference between H2O and H2SO4.
That's right.
We hope he understands the difference between water and sulfuric acid.
Yes.
It's very important that you understand that chemistry does mean something.
Right. Try that H3O. Or as I call it, bourbon. No, wait, he does, doesn't he? He does that on his podcast.
You're right.
Yeah,
he
Club
does.
Random.
He does know the difference.
No, he knows the difference there.
I love when he does Club Random, when the guest doesn't drink. He seems a tiny bit offended almost.
You know who
he?
got all worked up? Quentin Tarantino. And I couldn't tell, is he drunk or is that just Quentin Tarantino? I mean, he was talking about, I don't even remember what it was. I watched a clip. It came up on the YouTube thing, and I was like, I didn't want to click it because then I have to go back and delete it because I don't want YouTube sending me in my algorithm. I don't want them floating Bill Maher, his podcast all the time. You know what I mean? I don't want to see any more of it, but it happened to float up one day, and I thought, okay, I got to see what Quentin Tarantino was just kind of loose, and I thought, I don't know. I can't tell. Is it just Quentin Tarantino being Quentin Tarantino, or did he drink a lot of bourbon?
It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
I wouldn't want that. Gary, it's hard to tell whether you're drunk or sober.
Well, here's the thing.
Because you always seem like you're drunk.
Well, being sick recently, I don't drink. And being sick recently, I mean, I feel like a child when I'm sick. Thank God I have my lovely wife. I'm so grateful for her. And she just puts up with me, And then I said, can you imagine being drunk and, when I'm sick, that's bad enough. I can't imagine being out of control, much less on a podcast. To our audience, I know sometimes it sounds like we're drinking, but we don't drink. We don't. And you can't prove it.
I put on my Facebook page yesterday, there was a thing. I said, oh, no. The algorithms for my name and St. Patrick's Day have intersected. And it was like McNamara, buy this. And it was like, drink like a McNamara. And so I put it on there.
There you go.
And my buddy Jeff, my best friend Jeff, had the first comment. He went, I don't know if 2 glasses of wine, talking about basically my limit. I don't know if 2 glasses of wine. And then I just it was a message for him. I said, well, I do remember one time being out when I ordered a shot, and I turned my head and the shot magically disappeared. And then I got another one, and that one disappeared. I go, someone was looking out for me, and that goes back years ago when we were at a concert, and I actually got a shot.
Yeah.
And I turned my head, and he grabbed it and drank it. And I turned around, it was empty. I go, what happened? He goes, I don't know what.
Yeah.
And so I got another one. He took that. I got another one. He took that.
That's a good friend. Or a horrible enemy, depending on your...
Right, exactly.
Your preference.
He was looking out for me.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I believe he heard a lot more the next morning than I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't have a shot.
Well, my algorithm must know that I was, at one point a rock musician, not famous, Aerosmith, small band. Because I started getting this, we're repurposing leather pants and making them into wallets. I actually saw, there was a video. It's like, look. And I was thinking to myself, oh, okay, I can see that. Meatloaf's estate donated a pair of his pants and made 600 wallets.
Well, to conclude here, that article by again by Stephen Moore that references Bjorn Lomborg, because I think Bjorn Lomborg hopefully will get the credit that he deserves, because he's the one that came out and said, no, I believe that some type of climate change is happening and man is contributing to it in some way.
Right.
But everything that the left is doing is wrong, because that made a lot of people go, look, what do you mean? because we're spending our resources wrong.
Right.
It's not going to be as catastrophic as they said.
Right.
But the fact is, everything they're doing to make it less catastrophic is doing the opposite. You're wasting valuable resources that could be saving lives today.
Yes.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So yeah, I'm glad that Stephen Moore wrote that, and I hope there's more on this, because I don't think you're going to see an immediate reaction, because the climate change rules will take a long time for industry to dismantle them, and you have a ton of people in industry saying, well, this will only last till Democrats are in power again.
And then
Democrats will go right back to it.
Yeah, they'll overcorrect next time.
And so, that would be the concern of companies. If they have put in all this infrastructure, they don't want to take it down and have to put it back up again, because they know the left is not giving up on anything. There isn't one thing that they're willing to compromise on, including things that are just completely and totally insane.
And if they kill the automotive industry, car makers, domestic car makers, foreign car makers, if they kill them, and say, oh, well, you can't make a dime, they don't care. They don't mind if industry dies, because then everything goes to public transportation, which is exactly what they want.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.